In one of my previous Better GM videos, I talked about 5 things you never stop doing as a GM. Today I wanted to talk about something that encompasses both never stop trying and never stop improving. And the reason why these two go in hand today is because there are times when you're going to fall short. There are going to be times when you're going to drop the ball, and there are going to be times when you don't deliver gold. Well, first, I want you to understand, and especially any new up-and-coming GMs out there, I want you to understand that it's hard enough to keep an entire gaming rule set straight in your head, but to then compound that with the fact that each of your players is typically only playing one character, and you play all of the rest on top of setting the stage, setting up combats, keeping track of everyone else's stats and abilities, NPCs and whatnot, attempting to serve it up to your players in a way that makes the whole experience enjoyable for everyone, yourself included. It's a pain in the ass. I know it. You know it. We all know it. So. But secondly, also, due to any number of reasons or factors, when you fall short of delivering your best game session or even just a good game session, you have to be able to process it, let yourself off the hook, and move on. And it could be for any number of reasons, like I said, but maybe you... I don't know. Maybe you had to introduce a new character into the campaign because, one of your players has new toy syndrome and just had to make a new character to try out this new class from the new source book that he got today. That, basically a bunch of hack writers put together for the sole purpose of sucking $40 out of somebody's pocket, and he wants to play with his new toy now. But then, everybody else is upset because someone just had to blow all their money on a new book that we didn't need, and now someone also can't chip in for pizza when we order food later on tonight, and everyone else is just starting to resent it. Or I don't know, maybe one of your players just didn't show up. Yeah. Or maybe one of your players got into a fight with their significant other, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever, and before they came to the game, and suddenly has decided that they're not going to listen to anything another player, character, or NPC of the opposite gender has to say, and which not only makes things difficult and awkward, but also now the character is showing signs of sudden and irrational personality changes because he's never acted like this before, and because said player has already been a huge dick the entire game, the rest of the party is convinced that he's come under the influence of the evil lich hiding somewhere in this dungeon, and instead of attempting any form of rational methods to break their companion free of the vile mind control, they instead decided that they should get back to the ship, take off without him, and nuke the site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure. Or maybe you just had a Cheetos and Mountain Dew, and no one called ahead to check and see if you needed those things. So anyway, I don't know. But regardless of actual circumstances leading up to it, every now and then you're going to have a bad session, and it's not only important to take what you can from it and improve. It's also important to it's also important not to let one bad session get to you and be the reason you quit the game, scrap the game, or quit GMing altogether. So with all of this in mind, just like anything else in life that we want to do, anything you want to do better, anything you want to do for fun, there are going to be times when you fail. There are going to be times when you succeed, and there are going to be times when you just absolutely blow everyone away. And the only way you can do that is to keep working at it, keep trying, keep improving. Now, when you have a bad session, it's important to remember that it does happen, and it's not the end of the world. It certainly shouldn't be the end of your game. Even after 30 years of collective gaming myself, and a hefty portion of 25 of those years, I should say, spent GMing, I still have bad sessions every now and then. Happens to all of us from time to time. But what I mainly want to talk about today are the 3 times you are definitely not going to be the best GM. And this is based on my own experience as a player, and also as well what I've gathered from comments, criticism, and critique that I've gotten from all of my players. And so come up with 3 common instances where this is going to be happen. So hopefully in your pursuit to become a better GM, otherwise why the hell are you watching this? There's a million other videos on YouTube right now, and they're all a hell of a lot more entertaining than this one. If you can identify these occurrences in your game, either before or even after they've taken place, then you can try to avoid them and or learn from them, moving forward. So, first one that I have here is game/campaign was too short. There are going to be times when your players are going to get really invested in their characters and want to see how far they can take them. They'll start setting goals and making lists of abilities, skills, feats, etc. that they want to achieve and achieve with the character. And in spite of all of this, maybe you have a well-defined goal or objective that will either signal the game coming to an end or be the actual ending point for the game, and the game just ends. Whatever. Anytime your players don't accomplish everything that they wanted to do with their characters, they're going to be unhappy, and there really isn't much you can do about that. Now I'm not talking about games where one campaign ends and then you start a new adventure and a new campaign, either with some of the old characters and maybe some new characters too. No, I'm talking about that's it, absolute end, finito, bang, fuck, I'm dead. Roll credits, done. The end. Okay. This will happen in a lot of your one-shot games and in a lot of one-shot games or really, really short-lived campaigns. One-shot games like the kind of like we see at cons and whatnot, where they're just, there just isn't time to get to high levels or develop romantic interests, criminal underworld ties, or friends in high places. A lot of these one-shot type games, like I said, are going to be the ones that you have at cons, or sometimes you get the itch just to roll to do a short-term game or a one-shot, whatever, and. So even though they're short-lived, it doesn't mean that they can't be awesome and memorable. Just keep in mind that the more invested a player is in their character, no matter how short-lived or how long-lived, the more they're going to hate having to give up that character in that game. And this can definitely happen easily when the game is, of course, when the game is that good. Every day you'll see players really, really get into characters, whether they've played that character for one session or for 1 year. The second instance where you're not going to be the best GM for someone anyway is anytime you have to disallow something, disallowing X, disallowing whatever. A lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times when you disallow something, someone's not going to be happy, and it doesn't matter what you're disallowing for what reason. Either it doesn't fit your game world, it doesn't fit your story, or whether it's just something you genuinely do not want to deal with because of the way you've seen players abuse it, the thing itself simply being overdone or overused, and you just want to see your players do something new, something different, something original for once. Or if you just don't like it, in your game. As the GM, you need to know when to say yes and when to say no. And now you could allow. I should ask: could you allow this thing? Could you allow this thing in the future? Well, leave that open for discussion. Has the player presented either a compelling argument for allowing it, or perhaps even worked it into a really, really good backstory for their character? That's always something worth consideration. But you pick up any RPG book that actually has a section on game mastering, and it'll tell you that you make the final decision on any such issue. Second edition D&D has a campaign setting called Council of Worms. Worms spelled WYRMS. Okay, that includes rules on making making dragon characters in D&D. Characters who are actually dragons, obviously. Now, I own a copy of Council of Worms. Does that mean playing a dragon is an option in my second edition D&D campaign? Hell no! But it is a nifty supplement to have on hand. And I'm not even saying that everyone out there is going to be unhappy when you disallow one or two things, but chances are someone won't be, so just something to be prepared for. And the third thing that you're going to want to watch out for, and anytime this gets involved in the game and you have to do something about it, of course, is the rules lawyering. Now, let's get one thing straight, okay? A game book or rule book is not the Bible. I know that there are a lot of gamers and players out there who basically think that if it's written in the rule book, then it is the infallible word of Jehovah himself. This is not and never will be true, okay? The reason why I put rules lawyering on this list is because there are times when players will rely on the letter of the law in order to accomplish something or to get what they want. First of all, don't get me wrong, this is not necessarily a bad thing, but there are going to be many times when you have to do this yourself. You have to pull a little bit of rules lawyering in order to make things work, or in order to keep things moving. So, like I said earlier, also these are things that you either want to try to identify beforehand or learn from it once it occurs. So understanding the rules, and maybe not exactly knowing them backwards and forwards, and not even trying to understand them better than the players. I mean, it's not a competition or anything, but still, understanding the rules is going to be of great help to you. Because as the GM, you're going to have to know the letter of the law to be able to understand the spirit of the law. Essentially, the reason why a game has a particular rule why a game has a particular rule in place anyway. And I cannot tell you how many times a rule was misused or misinterpreted because of a spelling error that made it past the editor and the publisher, or because the rule itself was written so vaguely or worded so poorly that it's a wonder how some game designers ever passed 7th grade English or even got a job writing for anyone in the first place. And it kind of goes back to disallowing, what I was talking about a second ago. One of the reasons why I loved Palladium books, the Palladium system, games like Rifts, Palladium Fantasy, and Heroes Unlimited, was when I started playing with the Palladium system back in the 80s and the early 90s. One of the lines in the section on how to GM, written by Kevin Simbadia, said that, like, if you don't like a rule, throw it out. Just so throw it out the window, I think was the actual wording, was the actual word that he used, phrase he used, I should say. And that's something that stuck with me through 30 years of gaming. It's something that doesn't work. If something doesn't work for your game, toss it. And it's okay to listen to your players when they look up a rule. In my games, whenever a player does this, I'm even okay with having a discussion involving everyone on how the rule works, should work, or even how we as a group want to handle it. What I don't like to do is waste time on it, waste game time on it. Now, this discussion could and should maybe take place via email or message board or group texts over the course of the next week or month or however long it is for your group between game sessions and whatnot. But when it comes down to it, a ruling needs to be made quickly. Your word as the GM is final, whether or not somebody likes it or even agrees with it, and there's no point in wasting game time on it. Situations like this, I find one of the best things you can do here is to simply go ahead and make a ruling on the issue for now, and then come back, or be sure to use for now as kind of a placeholder, really, to let your players know that it's open for discussion, just not right this second. And again, if your player or players offer up good argument, or if everyone wants to do it a certain way, just keep an open mind. Be open to the possibility of doing things differently, and differently than what's outlined in the not Bible. Okay. Trust me, the first time you have to shut someone's rules lawyering down for any reason, they're not going to be happy. But if you show that you're willing to work with them, or at the very least willing to listen to them, that'll take you a lot farther. That'll take you and the group a lot farther. So, all right. So there you have it. 3 times you are definitely not going to be the best GM in the world. If you want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe, and feel free to check out my other videos on my channel. Also, I'm looking to do another Q&A video sometime soon. Azrith said that he'd like to do one with me. So leave a question in the comments below, or feel free to tweet them to us at Gabriel_Stryffe or at Azrith Stryffe. Again, family name is Stryffe. So thanks again. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Gabriel Stryffe, coming at you from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Acritas Veritas Bellatus.